And now Jonah squeezed her hand twice and said, "So, hey, tell me more about your people you're about to drag me into." How to explain the Lebanese Maronites of Boston's North Shore? When she thought of her father's people en masse, she always thought first of their eyes, dark and soft and kind, and looking a bit heartbroken, even if the person in question was not, with inky smudges beneath them, suggesting fatigue and defeat, even if, again, such was not the case. Then pair those eyes, those supple olive faces, with a Boston accent, full of dropped R's and that adenoidal flatness, as though invisible fingers were pinching the nose shut. To her, such faces had always signified family and home, security and prosperity. But seeing similar faces in Iraq had provoked other feelings in her. How could a face look so familiar, yet also be a portal to poverty, displacement, terror, despair, bottomless depression, trauma, rage, and, finally, empty resignation? How often she had watched the warmth, the hospitality in such faces at war with the suspicion, the bone-deep anger, the spiritual exhaustion. So now, to Jonah, she merely said, Lebanese Maronites were mountain peasants 100 years ago, totally looked down on by the Beirut elite, who were Sunni or Orthodox, but here in the U.S., they've all become doctors and lawyers and bankers and business owners, so they made out okay. Jonah laughed. They sound pretty much like the Jews of northern Westchester County. They are basically Jews, she said. They love Israel. They do? Of course, she said sharply. But since 9/11, all they want is to fit in and not have Americans think of them as Arabs or Muslims. Jonah gave her the side eye. Your voice is escalating. She laughed. I know, but I get annoyed at Arab Americans who try to fly under the radar. You mean literally going through security at the airport? She laughed and brushed away his hand on her knee. She loved his dry, fucking with you sense of humor. Just drive, she commanded. They'd been on a rather desolate industrial strip off the highway, but now they found themselves in downtown Lawton, driving through the grid of what could be so many northeastern former factory towns, an array of peeling, triple-decker homes, late Victorian, dark brick hulks of churches and schools, storefronts with grand old engraved signage reading Woolworth or Feinstein's Apparel. Then in their windows, plywood or tin placards reading Comida Latina or Abogado y Agente de Bienes Raíces. A few buildings, like a library and a municipal office, were clad in early 1970s brutalist concrete gray facades scarred now with graffiti and grime. They passed under an archway sign, slightly the worse for wear, reading Lawton, Immigrant City and Birthplace of Labor Rights. Jonah read the sign aloud. Really? It's true, Rita said, shaking her head and smiling. Well, I don't know about birthplace, but one of the greatest mill workers' strikes in the world happened here in 1912 when the workers' hours were cut. About 20,000 workers from countries all over Europe walked out. Rita got emotional and proprietary when talking about this strike, as she had since she was 11, when, obsessed with it, she'd written a history paper on it. But then, she continued, the textile industry here dried up right around when Puerto Ricans moved here, and the long-timers blamed the Puerto Ricans for ruining the city and moved out, and then the Dominicans and the Southeast Asians moved here, and with no jobs anymore, it became the drug capital of northern New England. And now it's the poorest city in Massachusetts, and the schools are in receivership, and families like mine will only come here once in a blue moon for something like the Maharajan, and they're scared their cars will be stolen, and voila, that's what you're seeing around you now. The once great and mighty Lawton. It's like an old Hudson River town, Jonah commented, except without the trendy hipster renaissance. But it is where I'm from, Rita said. I mean, really from. My family. Much more than the suburbs. She pointed up ahead to the left. That's the church. She rolled down the car windows. Listen. You can hear the music.